Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of this long history of artwork. In this episode, we are going to show a piece of artwork which has, of course, some history in exhibitions, publications, and also in auctions. The artwork which we are talking about is this, as you can see it here. It's called Ramyaton Khatifah. Ramyaton Khatifah means very quick splash, where the brush being swindled very quickly on the surface of canvas. It has, of course, its unique featuring because of the, as you can see, the speed in the application. Now this artwork has been exhibited in few exhibitions in London and other in Dubai and other places. Let me find if we can see it again in another. Yes, here we are. The same piece that was in 2003 in London. The exhibition called Ali Omar Ermes in Context, and that is the piece of artwork. Now this piece of artwork has some poetry in it. It's one of these strong lines of poetry which says, let me read it in Arabic first and then try to explain it in English. إذا جار الأمير وكاتباه وقاضي الأرض وداهن في القضاء فويل ثم ويل ثم ويل لقاضي الأرض من قاضي السماء. Now the idea of this line, this powerful poetry says that if that judge who is being trusted to look at different cases and different issues between population of the country start to deviate on his duties, start to accept bribes and make false judgments and prefer certain type of people than others and apply impression on the victims. Now, the piece of poetry telling him that this type of judge should prepare himself to the judgment of the kings of all, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, which will take all that very seriously and punish the aggressors. Doesn't matter what their name and what their size and what time and what war space. So that is the. Now this piece of poetry came in more than one reference book. Came in Bahjat al-Majalis, which is one of the reference books about Arabic poetry and Arabic wisdom and things like that, written by Imam Abi Omar Yusuf ibn Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah Namar al-Qurtubi. It's a long name, but it's a very well known name in that area. And also came about here in Al-Mustadraf, في كل فن المستطرف. This book, as you can see, also another source, which is done by Shahabuddin Muhammad bin Ahmad ibn Fatih al-Bhishi al-Mahalli, another long name, but very well known also with his work on more than one item of culture and wisdom and poetry and long language and the rest of it. Then we have قصة للسرد, which is a small story to read. And let me find where this story is. Okay, this story also tells us about the psychological impact of what anybody says to anybody else, i.e., the impact of the word, the power of the word, i.e., how the person who is listening to something, to some words, will imagine the meaning of the word, which it means it has consequences, and it has also other imaginative thoughts and ideas behind it. Now, this is a very interesting story, which is it might be tells us from history. Now, in this book, which is written by a very well-known, one of the foremost writers in Arab modern history, which is Abbas Mahmoud al-Aqad, very well known in his memoirs. He said that there was this story between a philosopher, very well-known philosopher, and he was also a doctor. And of course, we are not talking very far here. It's only about Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina is the very well-known philosopher and doctor, and has so many other, shall we say, attributes of course, he was also a writer and so many things of that nature. Now, he met some guy who was, in one way, a Sufi. I mean, because Sufis also, there are different lines of Sufi. Some of them are extreme and bad. Some of them are good and reasonable, and some of them are really thoughtful, and some of them are not. But anyway, this story gives us a very important point about the impact of the word, which is when somebody tell you a word, or you saying to somebody a word, you need to know exactly how this word is going to impact the person who you're speaking to. Now, the story says that this Sufi Sa'id Abil Khair was somehow disagreeing with Ibn Sina when it comes to the effect of psychological impact of thoughts and words and speeches on people health. So this Sufi said to him, but when he was talking to Ibn Sina in this case, but of course you don't know, because you are an animal, you are a donkey, you are not really a person of that status. Why, I mean, so of course what happens when the philosopher, Dr. Ibn Sina, hear this, he was shocked, and his eyes start to giggle, and his face start to be red, and a lot of blood came to his brain, and he started, shall we say, to feel angry about it. So, and that was the point which is the Sufi wanted to appear. He said to him, don't worry, I am only said that to you, that you would know how the impact of a word, just one word, made all that in you in front of me now. Look, what kind of word might affect the patient. So the Sufi guy, wanted to have that kind of shock, which can appear on the face of the very well-known philosopher, Dr. Ibn Sina, just because of one word, just because of something which is, when he said to him, the other guy start to feel something unusual. He start to be angry. He start to, shall we say, his face start to show symptoms of anger and annoyance. Now, the thing is, as you can see, that he said to him, look at this word, which makes all that to you, and it is only one word. and you are supposed to be the doctor, the person who knows more psychology about for others and patients and other people and the rest of it, and you are a philosopher, learned and the rest of it. So look at that. What kind of impact could have something like this could have on a normal patient? It means that that kind of thing affects the patients very severely. It could help the patients to become better, or could push him to be worse, and even might bring him to desperation and death. So that's what this small story about. It help. I mean, all that course. It helps us all together to see exactly the power and force of the word. And of course, from the word we learned everything. All the most important thoughts and ideas came through the word, either written or spoken. Religions books are words, written words and spoken words. All the philosophies and all the sciences and all the information humanity altogether in all history obtained by working very hard and by experience and by everything else came through word. And the word, the most important thing about the word, in addition to all that, is that the word can travel either in time or in a place where things which can be said 5,000 years ago can be read now through paintings, through writings, through manuscripts, through carving in wood or in stone, through whatever it is, and also through songs, which is people will repeat, and in poetry. We have that also. What comes, it means that this is a spoken word and written word. Now that's what is more, and of course, because this is a real, a very short story about very well known two people, which is Ibn Sina and Abil Khair. So that is a small story. Now, the next one, wise sayings. Let us see exactly this wise sayings if we can find it. Yes, look at that. This wise saying says, I have noticed that nothing I never said has hurt me. Now this, I don't know if we have we mentioned this in the past or not, but anyway, if we have, then fine. Well, it's always still useful, even if it is being said more than one time. So what's this guy saying? I have noticed that nothing I never said has hurt me. Well, very obvious, but it is also very wise, saying that if you don't say nothing, you're not going to be hurt by what you have said. You might not. Sometimes, of course, I know that there are times and occasions where if you don't say anything, you are going to be hurt because you haven't said. But mainly, we are hurt by what we say more than what we don't say. The person who said that is Calvin Coolidge. The next point is want to introduce a scientist. We have here one of the great scientists of the world, internationally very known, one of the scientists who introduced and formulate, not exactly invent. Invention is, well, I mean, you could say invent in sense of bringing something new, and he did do that. But this is because it is a thought. The thought usually is you work on something and you formulate it and you bring it, you put it together to make certain kind of a new understanding to the ideas and thoughts of the world. And of course, the person which we are talking about is Ibn Khaldun, Abdurrahman Ibn Khaldun. Abdurrahman Ibn Khaldun is, as been seen today, is the father of more than 26 lines of science. In history, sociology, and so many other sciences around that. When it comes to how to read history, how to read the psychology of people, how people act through what they do to each other, or they do in the civilization, what they do when it comes to politics, how shall we say politicians are going to affect the society because of what they do, good or bad, and so many of them. Of course, this book is the Al-Muqaddimah. Al-Muqaddimah, i.e. the introduction of his history. His history is a very big book, and something like 14, I think, volumes or something like that. Diwan al-Ibar, Khabar. But this is only the, of course, I mean, it has been studied and has been analyzed, therefore it might be a little bigger than the actual, shall we say, introduction by himself, but of course it is nicely analyzed and read, all of this and beautiful stuff in it. Now the thing which is, of course, Abdurrahman Ibn Khaldun has also a story which might not be able to analyze today as much, but he met Timur Lang, very well-known dictator and war man and all the rest of it. And of course, Timur Lang was very well-known when it comes to his the way he used to butcher people and kill and the rest of it and do a lot of that. But he was also one of those people who like to meet scientists and knowledgeable people and respect them. And he used to also bring some of these people to work for him sometimes here and there. Anyway, Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun he has been asked to come, and he has been also asked by some of the ulama, i.e. scientists, other scientists, to go to Timur Lang and speak to him. Among others, there are other people came about, but Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun was one of those people. And of course, they spoke, and of course, Abdurrahman being very experienced and very knowledgeable and very also, if you like, wise. He knew how to deal with such psychology of somebody like Timur Lang. We hope that might be able to read this some other time, but let's just give you an idea about Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun when it comes to that. One of the things which is Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun was saying all the time, that if the government, any government, start to pressurize the people who are producing, either in farming or in other industries or whatever it is, and taking over their businesses and punishing them very, very badly by demanding so much, then that government is in the process of destroying the country altogether. Why? Because the production is going to either cease or stop altogether or lessen. People are not going to be able to live wisely, and then the honesty of people, the honesty of dealing with inside population is going to be less, and the other negative aspects of life and relations between people is going to be more, and therefore the society altogether will collapse, and then you start to have big problems in that country. And of course, we can see that today's world as clear as it can be, and of course in different places, in different areas, not all the same, but so many of them, you could see the reasons, and you could see why Abdurrahman ibn Khaldun was saying that out of his experience, and also out of his analogies, and out of his understanding of how life and how people will work and how will react. So that is partly is a psychological thought, while it is economical thought also, based on political mismanagement and so many of that. Thank you very much indeed, and hopefully to see you very soon.